We now live in a day and age where you are supposed to have 5 different social media accounts, YouTube channels, a website, a merch store, and whatever other online accounts you can. But as someone who is in fact trying to grow my online presence, I have made the heretical decision to abandon my social media accounts. But before I tell you why, please welcome back to Faith Made Well. My name is Ryan, and normally on this channel, we like to talk about following Jesus Christ despite life's difficult circumstances, whether that be a chronic illness, the trials of this life, persecution, or whatever the case may be. Now, in this video, however, I'm going to be covering a slightly different topic. I'm going to be discussing why I have decided to drop my social media accounts at the end of this year. But there will still be some biblical applications sprinkled throughout, so don't worry if that's what you're here for. But today, as we get started, I want to discuss a very alarming statistic. According to ExplodingTopics.com, they say the average person who gets a phone by age 12 will likely spend 12 years of their life staring at that phone. And if we look only at social media, half of those 12 years, or roughly 6 years of our lives, will be spent doom scrolling on social media. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We are expected to spend on average 12 years of our life staring at our phones. And before you try to justify it, I want you to stop and think about how much of your screen time is actually useful. I personally try to justify by saying that I'm making helpful content or I'm making Christian content. But the reality is that one day I'm going to stand before God on Judgment Day and I'm going to be held accountable for the time that He has given me. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to have to stand before God and say that He gave me 85 years on this earth and I used 12 of them staring at my phone. In Ephesians 5 verses 15 through 16, it says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." You see, our time is short in this life, and we have to be wise with that time. Just read through the book of Ecclesiastes, and you will see just how fleeting our life is on this earth. Many people look at the book of Ecclesiastes as a depressing book. It's not depressing. It's telling us about the reality of life, that we have a limited window, and that we have to use that time that God has given us wisely and for His glory. And so how are we going to spend our time? How are we going to live our lives? Are we going to spend it staring at our phone and watching Netflix? Or are we going to be doing something productive? Now, before I come out and start judging everyone else, let me explain why I myself am going through this process of reducing screen time. So I have to work on reducing my own screen time because after I got sick with a chronic illness and I was stuck at home, I started spending far too many hours on my devices, more than I care to share publicly, if I'm being honest. But I can also confidently say that my screen time has improved over the last 3 years of being sick, as I've started to take it much more seriously. I now have my wife set up password-protected screen time on my social media, my Xbox, my phone, laptop, and anything else I can find. And I can confidently say that I have seen my screen time reduce over the last few years. Now, there is a hard balance because the reality is I am trying to make content online. And not only that, but the modern world in which we live, it's pretty much impossible to avoid using technology. You need your device to log into your bank, talk to your doctor. Much of education has moved online. And it's all very great and useful, but the problem is not these essential applications, it's the non-essential. The social media, YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, etc. The ones that keep you hooked for hours. This is the problem. And I know for lots of people now, this is just simply how we work. They run their business online, they do their marketing on social media, and they connect with customers or clients through various online platforms. I get it. So I'm not telling anyone what they should or should not do with technology, but what I am saying is this. I think it's time for us to reflect on our screen time. Are there ways we could perform part of our job without looking at a screen? Write an email using the text-to-speech feature instead of typing it out. Do your brainstorming on pen and paper instead of a Word document. Or at the very least, can we focus on the time where we are not working and actually live in the present moment? So much of Western society is anxious and depressed, and I can't help but think that our devices at least play a small part in this big epidemic. We are stuck in this overstimulating matrix of the internet, and we can't seem to escape it for even a few seconds. Our brain never gets a break, and we never get a breather. For crying out loud, when was the last time you sat outside and watched the sun go down and wrestled with your own thoughts with no devices in sight? I think if we're being honest, it's been a very long time. And personally, as a Christian, I find it incredibly difficult to remember to pray or to even think about God when I am surrounded by devices. I used to work at FedEx as a delivery driver, and I had very little screen time with my job. And I prayed all the time throughout the day. With my eyes open, of course. I was driving. But now that I'm working on all this content, I find myself just absorbed by these screens. I feel cut off from life itself and forget to even talk to my Savior. And I always feel like, at least for myself, when I turn off the devices, it's almost an instant, oh man, God, I'm sorry, I haven't even thought about you in hours. And I don't care how you try to wiggle your way around it, if your devices are keeping you from talking to your Savior, that's a problem. And right now, you might be saying, well, Ryan, maybe that's a problem for you, but it's not for me. I've got self-control and I've got it all figured out. And what I would ask you then is, how about you open up your phone and look at your screen time? How about you log into your video game console and you look at your screen time there? How many hours have you played your video game this last year? How many hours have you spent on your phone in the last week? How many movies have you watched on Netflix in the last year? Most of the devices nowadays, they tell you this information if you go in and look at it. I encourage you to go add it all up and look at it, and then you can come back and tell me that you've got self-control. I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying this as someone who struggles myself with technology. And I just think that technology has grown too fast for us to adapt. Let me give you an example. So I don't want to be too specific about my age because my age ties into this. But I got my first smartphone, I think 11 years ago. Okay? So before that time, smartphones were already a thing. A lot of my friends had them growing up. But 11 years ago, I got my first smartphone. And what I don't understand is how 11 years ago, I managed to function without a smartphone. And now it seems like I can't go a single hour without it because we use it for everything. That's what I mean, is I think technology has grown and advanced so quickly, I don't think we even know how to have a healthy relationship with it. And that is my focus, having a healthy relationship with technology. I don't want to exclude technology from my life because it is a tool and it's very useful. And I don't want to rad on technology too much because a friend recently reminded me that, you know, if you were to hand Paul the Apostle a smartphone and say, here, make a Facebook account and you have access to 3 billion people, he'd be like, are you kidding me? 3 billion people and all I have to do is type out a few words? Yes, I chose Facebook because Facebook still has the most users of all the other social media accounts. I'm sorry to all you young people who think that you're super hip and cool for choosing the latest social media. Facebook has them all beat by billions of people. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is that I want to live in the present moment. I want my kids to know that dad was there mentally, not just physically in the room. I want them to know that dad was there spiritually and not just talking about Jesus online, but actually living out his faith in his daily life. I want family and friends and just random people I meet to know that I care more about the face-to-face interaction than I do about likes online. And so I am going to be dropping all of my social media accounts associated with Faith Made Well and my other channel, Fitness with an Illness. For the time being, I will maintain my one personal social media account to just stay in contact with family and friends, but there's a good chance too down the road I may just drop that too and be completely done with social media. For now, I feel like God has led me to YouTube and he has grown the channel quite quickly, in my opinion. And so I do think there is evidence that God has pointed me in this direction, and that is what I want to lean into. Not only will it help my own health, but it will also allow me to focus on one specific audience, YouTube. I also feel like this is the platform I'm most gifted in. Social media is not my strong suit, and I honestly don't even enjoy it that much. And I feel like my numbers prove that I'm better at YouTube than social media. After almost a year on Instagram, my account has 25 followers. Yes, you heard that right, 25. And my Facebook account has 5. Ouch. To some, this may sound kind of strange, but the reality is that different social media platforms do cater to specific audiences, and you have to be good at each of those platforms in order to get the most engagement out of them. And yes, I understand that YouTube in its own right is its own type of social media. It just feels different in my mind, and so I don't necessarily categorize it the same way. And I fully admit that I'm just not very good at Facebook or Instagram or X and all this different stuff. It's not my strong suit, and I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy YouTube, and I've had far more engagement on YouTube. I'm now sitting at a point where on my Faith Made Well channel, I've got almost 2,300 subscribers, and by the time this video posts, I would expect it would at least be a little bit above that number. And not only that, but I've had far deeper conversations on YouTube than I have on any of the social media accounts. Even just yesterday, I had 2 people asking me biblical questions on the YouTube channel, and I was able to have a short conversation with them. And to me, that's why I'm doing this, is I want to have conversations with people about Jesus. And the other 2 platforms, I'm not producing the engagement there. And I think that's just because that's not where I'm gifted. I think that God has gifted me in YouTube, and that is where I'm going to put my focus. Now, before I completely close things out, I want to read the parable of the talents. Now, this is a long passage, but it's very applicable, so bear with me. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them, and made another 5 talents. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground, and hid his Lord's money. After a long time the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He also, who had received 2 talents, came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you had not sown, and gathering where you had not scattered seed. And I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore, take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this parable is often used as a way to describe how we ought to act with our time, our talent, and our treasure. These would be all the things that God has given us. And I personally want to use mine wisely for him. I think that God has given me a talent on YouTube. And quite honestly, I feel like when I try and use traditional social media, I face resistance. I don't think it is where God has called me to. And some of that has just simply been prayerful trial and error. But I feel really good about letting social media go, both for my sake, my family's sake, the YouTube audience God has given me, and most importantly, for the glory of God. And so for all of these reasons, I have decided to give up social media. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate you spending part of your day here with me. And I know this video was a little bit outside of my normal scope, but if you want to come back and be here for Bible study or just, general Christian discussion, I'd love to have you back. Be sure and subscribe. Here's the cat. And be sure to subscribe. That way when you come back, you can be notified about future videos. God bless you guys. Please take care, and we will see you in the next one. Adios.